Hello, my dear listeners. This is the lady. This is my very first ever video, and I was asked to make some videos and just tell general stories that I know a little bit about. So, today I would like to tell the story of Atalanta. She was a Greek heroine in Greek mythology, and she was a huntress that was very similar to Artemis in that she lived in the wilderness. She was a fierce huntress. She was also a virgin, so just like Artemis. And Atalanta was just overall, she was just a really interesting heroine. So when she was born, her father wanted a son, and when Atalanta was born, and obviously a female, she was left on a mountaintop to die. She survived, and she learned to hunt and fight the way that animals would. And later she was reunited with her father, but she grew up in the wilderness, raised by wolves and all that fun stuff. So the big thing that Atalanta did was she actually slayed two centaurs. The centaurs were attempting to rape her, and she murdered them. So she was just overall, like I said, just a very tough and interesting heroine. She killed the Caledonian boar who had ravaged the land, the men, cattle, just generally totally destroyed the town, and she killed that boar. She also won a foot race against many of her suitors. So, like I said before, she was a virgin. So she didn't want to get married. She was a tough huntress. There was no reason for her to get married. And she decided, she told her father, that if anyone that wanted to marry her could outrun her in a foot race, she would marry them. But those who lost the foot race would be killed. So she actually, on several occasions, won the foot race, and many young men actually died with the intention to marry Atalanta. One of the grandsons of Poseidon actually came to the foot race and attempted to stop the killing of all of these young men because they were just at this point flocking to their own doom. So the grandson of Poseidon, his name was Hippomenes. Hippomenes actually gave Atalanta golden apples that he got from Aphrodite. And they slowed Atalanta down, and that way that Hippomenes would win the foot race. So then after he won, he actually married Atalanta. And in some cases, like in some of the tales and the retellings of this story, Atalanta actually did really like Hippomenes and was in love with him, and so they did end up getting married. She ended up having children, and one of her sons was Parthenopeos, and Parthenopeos was a big deal in his own right with the 7 against Thebes, and I will tell that story at a later date. Atalanta also had dealings with the Golden Fleece. So she was the only woman that sailed with the Argonauts in the quest for the Golden Fleece. She jumped aboard the ship right after the expedition set out. I mean, she just ran and jumped onto the ship. And she was protected by Artemis because she was a virgin priestess at the time. So Atalanta was actually warned that if she lost her virginity, it would be disastrous for her. So that is one of the main reasons she stayed a virgin. So she did actually, she was in love with someone that was on the Argo in the quest for the Golden Fleece. But she decided not to do anything about it just because of what that oracle had said. She played a major role in the adventures of the Argonauts and Jason and everybody that was doing the quest for the Golden Fleece. And was a very large part of that expedition. She was also a wrestler, and there are Greek vase paintings that have Atalanta wrestling on the paintings. She was depicted mostly from the foot race incidents. She was a wrestler. She was a huntress. In some tales, she was actually raised by a bear, and she was fed milk and things like that from that bear. And that's who raised her. Which is why she became such an amazing huntress as she did, because, I mean, bears are obviously great hunters, and being raised by one gives you a pretty good idea of how to be a huntress. Probably the most famous story is the foot race story and the legend, and overall Atalanta was just a really tough lady, and she lived a good long life being strong, and just overall, I mean, first of all, a great role model for women, because she was the only woman on the Argonauts expedition. She wouldn't have even been there had she not just booked it and stowed away, essentially. She was a wrestler, which wasn't something that women did back then. She refused to marry, again, something that women didn't do back then. She slayed a boar that nobody else would slay. And even other men that had attempted to slay the Caledonian boar were killed until Atalanta came along. So Atalanta was just an amazingly tough lady. She killed centaurs, she killed boars, she killed other men. She was incredible. And so that is just the first story that I wanted to put on my channel here. And for my dear listeners, I hope that you enjoyed this tale. And there are other stories in Greek mythology that I will tell at a later date. If you liked the video, just let me know what you liked about it, what I can do different. It's my first video, so hopefully you all will be kind. And just tell me anything that you liked about it, what you didn't like, and leave me some comments, and I will read those comments in the next video. My dear listeners, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I hope that Atalanta inspires you to go do something you were afraid of. I hope that Atalanta just lets you know that you can do anything, because she did anything. She was left to die on a mountaintop and ended up killing centaurs, boars, and all kinds of things, and was protected by Artemis. So she was protected by a god almost her entire life. So I hope that this story inspires you. I hope that you liked the story. And if there's any other stories that you'd like to listen to or hear about or anything like that, just let me know, and I will look into that story, and hopefully I can read it in one of my next videos. I hope you guys have fantastic, fantastic day, night, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are, and tune in next time. Bye-bye.